Elara traced the patterns on a moss-covered stone. The language of this world was so different from his own, yet in the quiet hum of the forest he found a familiar peace. It was a fragile peace, a melody played over the deep, sorrowful silence of his lost home, a world of shimmering cities now just a memory of dust and echoes. He was a stranger here, a gardener in a borrowed grove. A heavy footfall, softer than a falling pine cone, announced his friend. A massive, fur-covered form emerged from the shadows of the ancient redwoods. "Keel," Elara said, his voice a low rustle like dry leaves. "You walk with a heavy heart today." The great creature grunted, a sound that was both a greeting and a sigh. They walked in silence for a time, Kael's long strides easily matching Elara's measured pace. Kael pointed a thick finger toward the valley. He didn't need words. Elara could feel the creature's thoughts, a jumble of worry and a scent like soured water. The river, the lifeblood of their sanctuary, was growing sick. Elara looked at his friend, seeing not the beast of human myth, but his brother, another survivor of a dying star. They were the Zorian, a people who could weave their bodies into new forms as easily as they wove light into energy. They had come to this blue-green world not as conquerors but as refugees, vowing to protect their new home from the same carelessness that had poisoned their own. Kael stopped and touched a symbol on his wrist, hidden beneath the thick fur. For a fleeting moment, the fur receded, revealing skin etched with circuits of soft, glowing light. The illusion wavered. "The change is taxing," Kael's thought voice echoed in Elara's mind. "This form feels the world's pain more deeply." They reached the riverbank. The water, once clear enough to reflect the sky, was now murky, coated with an oily sheen that swirled with sickly rainbows. The stones were slick with a gray slime, and the air hummed with the wrong kind of silence, the absence of birds and the buzz of insects. Elara knelt and dipped his fingers into the water. He closed his eyes, extending his senses beyond the physical. He felt the river's life force, weak and struggling, choked by a poison that was cold and relentless. It was a familiar pain, the slow, creeping death of a world that didn't know it was dying. The source was upstream, a wound bleeding into the land. "We cannot hide forever." Kael's thought voice was sharp with anger. "The others grow restless. Our shapers can purify this, but not if we must remain ghosts. The humans, they are blind." Elara looked at his friend. "Patience, Kael. To reveal ourselves now would be to trade one poison for another. They would not understand. They would fear us." "Fear is not our way," Elara said, rising to his feet. "We will not be warriors, but healers. The seed vessels have slept long enough. We will guide the healing from the shadows. We will show them the way, not by force, but by mending what they have broken." Kael followed Elara's gaze toward a part of the forest where the trees grew in a perfect, unnatural circle. Deep beneath the soil and roots, a marvel of Zorian engineering lay dormant, waiting. A ship not of war, but of life. Their mission was not to escape this world, but to save it. And it was about to begin. The circle of trees hummed with a latent energy that tickled Elara's senses. He placed his hands on the central stone, the same one he had touched that morning, but here its resonance was different. "The heart of the vessel sleeps beneath our feet," he murmured. "It is time for it to wake." He closed his eyes, and the air grew still, charged with an ancient power. Kael watched, his massive form a study in tense stillness. What will it do? His thought voice rumbled in Elara's mind, a tremor of both hope and apprehension. "The seed vessel is not a weapon," Elara replied, his voice calm despite the thrumming power beneath them. "It is a gardener. It carries the blueprints of life, microscopic architects that can deconstruct poison and weave the threads of life anew. But its power is immense. A careless hand could unravel the very fabric of this world. The ground began to vibrate, a low hum that resonated deep in their bones. A section of the forest floor, seamless moments before, now showed the faint outline of a great circle. Soft, blue light seeped from the edges. "It hears me," Ilara whispered. The ship was a living thing, a symbiotic fusion of technology and biology, and it was stirring from a long, lonely slumber. With a sound like a great exhalation of breath, a ramp of woven, root-like material descended from the glowing circle. It led down into a warm, softly lit cavern. The air that flowed out smelled of rich soil, clean water, and ozone. "The way is open," Ilara said, turning to his friend. "The work begins." The interior of the vessel was not made of metal and wires, but of living, bioluminescent structures. Walls pulsed with a gentle light, and the air was thick with the scent of growing things. In the center of the main chamber, a column of light pulsed in time with Ilara's own heartbeat. He reached out, not with his hands, but with his mind, connecting with the vessel's consciousness. Images, data, and chemical analyses flooded Ilara's mind. The vessel had been sampling the river through the root system of the grove. It understood the poison. It was a complex industrial solvent, carelessly discarded, a chemical signature of a civilization that had forgotten its connection to the world. They do not see the whole, Ilara thought, a wave of sadness washing over him. They see only the parts they wish to use. Cale stood just inside the entrance, a silent, furry sentinel. He could feel the vessel's life force, a vast and ancient intelligence that was both alien and deeply familiar. It was the song of Zoria, the echo of their lost home. He felt the pain of the river through the vessel's senses, a cold, chemical burn that was an affront to all living things. His hands clenched into massive fists. "I have it," Ilara said, his voice pulling Cale from his dark thoughts. A small, spherical pod detached from the central column and floated into Ilara's waiting hands. It glowed with a soft green light. "This contains the first wave, a strain of microbes engineered to break down the primary contaminant. They will multiply, consume the poison, and then, their purpose served, become inert food for the river's natural life. We must release them at the source," Ilara continued. "Upstream, where the poison bleeds from the earth. It is a wound, and this is the first stitch to close it. Your strength and your silence will be needed to reach the place unseen." He held the pod out to his friend. "This is not a task of power, Cale, but of precision. A whisper, not a shout." Cale took the pod, its warmth and light a stark contrast to the cold fury in his heart. He cradled it gently in his massive palm. He looked from the orb to Ilara, and in his deep, dark eyes, the Druid saw an understanding pass. This was their vow. Not to rule, not to command, but to mend. To be the quiet guardians of their new home. With a final, determined nod, Cale turned and melted back into the shadows of the forest, the first seed of healing held safely in his care. The forest was breathing again. Life, vibrant and green, was returning to the riverbanks where Cale had planted the seed of healing. The water ran clear, and the fish had returned. Yet a new disquiet settled in Ilara's heart. He watched a sparrow, a creature of exquisite navigation, fly in a frantic, dizzying circle before tumbling from the sky. The air itself felt wrong. A high, thin hum vibrated just at the edge of hearing, a discordant note in the symphony of the woods. "It is not a poison of the water or the soil." Ilara's voice was a low whisper in Cale's mind as they returned to the hidden vessel. "It is a sickness in the air, a phantom that strikes at the very mind." He looked at his friend, his ancient eyes troubled. The creatures who navigate by the world's unseen lines are being driven mad. Their internal compass is shattered. The seed vessel extended its senses. Data flowed into Ilara's consciousness, a torrent of chaotic energy signatures. The source was a newly erected tower on the ridge overlooking the valley, a steel spike driven into the heart of the mountain. It pulsed with a raw, unregulated energy, a broadcast frequency that was tearing through the delicate web of the world's magnetic field. "They have built a weapon without knowing it," Ilara breathed. "A beacon of madness." "We cannot unmake their tower," Ilara said, turning from the light. "But we can sing a stronger song. The vessel can generate a harmonic field, a counter-frequency to nullify the chaos. But it must be anchored to the earth." From the vessel's wall, a panel of woven fibers opened, revealing a set of 6 crystalline spires, each glowing with a steady, internal blue light. "These are the choir, but the lead singer," he said, picking up the largest spire, "must be placed at the foot of their iron giant." Kale stepped forward, his purpose clear. He extended a hand, his thought voice a low, determined rumble. "I will take it." He understood this was not a task of brute force, but of absolute stealth. The tower was a human place, bristling with their strange senses, glass eyes that saw in the dark and invisible fences that screamed when touched. His silence, his ability to become one with the shadows, was their only weapon. Ilara placed the primary node into Kale's hand. It felt warm, alive. "The vessel will guide you," he projected, sharing a map of energy fields and blind spots directly into Kale's mind. "It will show you the gaps in their sight, the moments when their sentinels sleep. The other nodes will be placed by the vessel's own drones, but the heart of the network must be placed by a living hand. It must be you, my friend." Night fell, and Kale moved. He was not a creature of the forest, but the forest itself. He flowed over rock and through thicket, the mental map from the vessel a glowing lattice in his mind's eye. He saw the red cones of the security cameras, the shimmering lines of the motion sensors. He moved between their pulses, a ghost in the machine's blind spots. The tower loomed ahead, a black silhouette against the star-dusted sky, humming with its sickening energy. He reached the base of the tower, a concrete plinth surrounded by a chain-link fence. The hum was a physical pressure here, making his teeth ache. He found the spot Ilara had shown him, a junction box where the main power conduit entered the concrete. Ignoring the fence, he simply reached through it, his powerful fingers parting the metal links as if they were thread. With infinite care, he pressed the crystalline node into the soft earth, right beside the humming conduit. The moment the node touched the earth, it pulsed. A silent, blue wave of energy radiated outwards. Miles away, in the heart of the forest, Ilara felt the connection. "It is done," he whispered. He placed his hands on the central column of the vessel, and from 5 other hidden locations in the forest, the smaller nodes activated in unison. The choir had found its voice. From the top of the ridge, Kale watched the forest below. The oppressive hum was gone, replaced by the familiar, gentle sounds of the night. A wave of peace washed over the valley. The sickness in the air had been cured. He looked down at his empty hands, then back towards the distant lights of the human city. They had mended this wound, but the capacity to create such wounds remained. Their vigil was eternal. He turned and disappeared back into the welcoming darkness, a silent guardian in a world that did not know he existed. The tower's scream was silenced, but a sickness lingered in the air. A deep lethargy had settled over the valley, a sonic weariness that muted the vibrant pulse of life. By the river, the healing seed had grown into a plant that pulsed with a soft green light, but its influence was a small pool of calm in an ocean of discord. Ilara knelt, touching a leaf. "The shout is gone," he sent to Kale, "but the endless, grinding murmur of their world remains. It dampens the very soul of the forest." Within the living vessel, the central column of light showed the truth of his words. The seed's song was a single, beautiful ripple of green, expanding and vanishing in a vast, murky sea of gray static. It was a lone voice of perfect pitch, lost in the dissonant roar of a thoughtless crowd. It is pure, but it is a whisper. Ilara's thought voice was heavy with concern. To heal this land, we must turn the whisper into a chorus. We cannot simply shout louder than they do, Ilara continued, turning to the vessel's curved wall. We must teach the earth to sing the seed's song with us. A section of the wall became translucent, revealing a matrix of light and energy. Within it, new crystals began to grow, not like the blue nodes of silent defense, but clear and complex, shot through with veins of living, green, bioluminescent light. When the process was complete, Ilara carefully removed the master crystal. It was the size of his heart, and hummed with a gentle, living energy, its internal light pulsing in a slow, steady rhythm. "This is the tuning fork," he explained, holding it before Kale. "It must learn the seed's song directly from the source. It will be the heart of our choir." "Your hands speak the language of the soil, my friend," Ilara said, placing the tuning fork into Kale's immense, gentle hands. "The vessel can place the others, but the heart must be set by a living being who loves the world it will heal. You will feel the precise place where root and river meet. You must make it one with the life it must amplify." Kale moved through the forest, not as a visitor, but as a part of its whole. He carried the crystal close to his chest, its gentle warmth, a living thing against him. At the river's edge, he waded into the cool, clear water, closing his eyes. He was not looking for a spot, but listening for it with his entire being, feeling the thrum of the plant's roots and the ancient flow of the water, seeking the point of perfect convergence. He found it. With a slow, reverent motion, Kale pressed the crystal into the soft silt of the riverbed, nestling it amongst the plant's roots. The moment it settled, a silent, visible pulse of soft green light bloomed outwards through the water. The healing plant flared in response, its own light intensifying, becoming a beacon. A low, beautiful hum resonated through the water and stone, the seed's song finally given a voice. Back in the vessel, the central column was transformed. The murky gray was gone, replaced by a powerful, steady wave of pure green. "The heart is strong," Ilara projected as Kale returned. "Now we build the body." He placed his hand on the wall, and a circular hatch irised open. A dozen small, silent spheres of light, each carrying a smaller green crystal, flew out into the twilight. The drones were extensions of Ilara's will, moving with silent precision. They placed their crystalline burdens at nexus points of the Earth's own energy, one atop the highest mountain peak, another deep within an ancient grove, a third beside a hidden waterfall. As each crystal was set in place, a new line of green light appeared on the vessel's display, connecting to the heart, spreading the song. As the final node settled into place, a profound peace fell across the valley. It was not an absence of sound, but an absence of all noise. The discordant hum of the human world was gone, filtered out, replaced by a harmony that resonated in every leaf, stone, and living heart. The song of the seed, amplified by the crystal chorus, was now the true voice of the land. Life stirred, vibrant and renewed, breathing in perfect time once more. The valley breathed a song of pure harmony. Life, vibrant and unafraid, moved to the rhythm of the crystal chorus. Kale stood on a high ridge, his great form relaxed. A rare peace settled on his features. But Ilara was not looking at the valley. He faced away, towards the horizon of the human world, his ancient face a mask of concentration. "The noise is gone," he sent to Kale, his thought voice tight with a new dread. "But I feel something else now, a scream of focused hatred, gathering itself to a single point." They returned to the vessel. The central column, a beacon of steady, healing green, was suddenly violated. A single, sharp line of violent red light pierced the green from below, ascending with terrible speed. It was not the chaotic gray of pollution, but the focused, predatory energy of a weapon. They have learned to weaponize the heart of a son, Ilara projected, his voice heavy with awe and horror. And now they intend to throw it at their own world. A low growl rumbled in Kale's chest, a sound of gathering fury. His fists, large as boulders, clenched and unclenched. He saw the red line and knew only that it must be smashed. To answer their scream with a roar is to speak their language, Ilara cautioned, placing a hand on his friend's massive arm. It is a language of endings. We must not learn it. We will not destroy their fire. We will teach it to be cold again. Ilara turned to a different part of the vessel's wall, which glowed and became translucent. Within the light, a new object formed. It was not a living crystal, but a perfect, seamless sphere of dark, polished metal that seemed to drink the light around it. It floated silently, absorbing all sound, all energy. The chorus sings of life, Ilara said, his attention fixed on the orb. This is the echo of the void. It will be the silence that answers their scream. A section of the vessel's domed ceiling irised open, revealing the deep, star-dusted cobalt of the upper atmosphere. The black sphere floated upwards, leaving its cradle of light and ascending towards the opening. Go, Ilara projected, a simple release of will. Be the end of the argument. With an impossible, silent acceleration, the sphere shot through the opening and vanished into the heavens. The missile was the pinnacle of mankind's violent ingenuity. A sleek javelin of metal and malice, it climbed on a roaring pillar of fire, leaving the world and its arguments behind. It carried in its heart a furious, man-made star, a terrible promise of annihilation aimed at its own creators. It was a scream given physical form, knowing nothing but its target. The sphere was its antithesis. It rode no flame, made no sound. It was a whisper of absolute cold moving through the void, a sliver of silence hunting a beast of thunder. It closed the distance not with brute force, but with the elegant, undeniable logic of a collapsing star, its trajectory a perfect, graceful arc of interception. The sphere drew alongside the missile's warhead. It did not strike. From its dark surface, a single beam of pure blackness, an absence of light, lanced out. It was not a laser, but a filament of focused void. It touched the missile's skin, and where it touched, the metal simply ceased to be, flaking away into nothingness without heat or sound. The beam pierced the outer shell, slicing through wires and circuits with surgical precision. It did not detonate the weapon. It dismantled the thought that led to its detonation. The caged star within was isolated, its trigger mechanism unwritten from existence. The missile, its voice stolen and its purpose erased, was now just a dead thing, beginning its long, silent fall back to a world it could no longer harm. The sphere returned to the vessel, settling into its cradle of light as if it had never left. The red line on the display was gone, but the memory of it stained the air. The peace of the valley, once a source of triumph, now felt fragile and temporary. Ilara and Kale stood at the vessel's entrance, looking up at the stars. They had silenced a single shout, but they knew with a terrible certainty that the world of men was full of voices, and it would surely scream again. The silence left by the dismantled missile was not peace. It was the hollow quiet of a fever dream. Inside the vessel, the central column of light, once a vibrant green, now pulsed with a murky grayish tinge, the color of a dying lung. Kale paced the chamber, his heavy footsteps the only sound. This slow rot is worse, he projected to Ilara, his thought voice a low growl. The scream was honest. This is a coward's death, for them and for the world. Ilara did not answer immediately. He raised a hand, and a section of the vessel's wall shimmered into a vast screen, showing not a weapon, but the weapon's source. Rivers choked with iridescent filth, skies the color of rust, forests of skeletal, leafless trees. The scream was a symptom, Ilara sent, his voice heavy with sorrow. This is the disease. A scream can be silenced. How do you cure a billion whispers of apathy? A roar of pure frustration tore from Kale's soul, shaking the very air in the chamber. Then let them hear a roar they cannot ignore, he thundered. Let us show them a hurricane that scours their cities, a flood that washes away their filth. Let them fear the sky they have poisoned, and the waters they have filled with venom. Fear is the only language they have ever truly learned. And what would that teach them, my friend? Ilara countered, his own energy a calming wave against Kale's storm. It would teach them that the universe is as violent as they are. We silenced their weapon, we will not become one. He turned from the images of destruction to a different, untouched part of the wall. We will not answer their whispers with a roar. We will answer them with a whisper of our own. The wall before Ilara glowed with a soft silver light. Within it, an image took shape, a complex, crystalline structure, impossibly intricate, like a single, perfect snowflake made of starlight. It is a catalyst, Ilara explained, his focus absolute. A seed, engineered to bond with their poisons, to break them down into inert, harmless elements. It will work on a scale they cannot measure, with a subtlety they will not detect. Kale's fury subsided into a deep, troubled skepticism. He would give them a cure they have not earned? A magic trick to clean their mess? They will learn nothing but that their actions have no consequences, he argued, his voice low and dangerous. They will learn by seeing the world heal, Ilara replied patiently. One day, a human scientist will find this miraculous new microorganism. They will study it, cultivate it, and claim it as their own discovery. In owning the cure, perhaps they will finally learn to own the disease. We are not giving them a pardon, Kale. We are giving them a chance to write one for themselves. A new hum filled the vessel. From the base of the central column, a billion motes of silvery light began to rise, swirling upwards like smoke in reverse. They were the seeds, each one a silent, potent promise. They gathered at the apex of the dome, a shimmering, ethereal cloud of hope. The dome irised open to the heavens. The silver cloud did not shoot forth, but drifted out, a gentle, glittering exhalation on the breath of the world. It caught the high winds of the stratosphere and dispersed, a silent, invisible blessing sent to every corner of the globe. And now we wait? Kale sent, the question heavy with the weight of centuries. Now, Ilara replied, we listen for them to learn a new song. The dome closed. The light in the central column remained a sickly, polluted green. The cure had been released, but the world was not yet healed. They had placed an impossible trust in a species that had only ever rewarded it with destruction. They had planted a seed of impossible grace and could only wait and hope that it would be enough. Weeks, or maybe months, bled into one another in the timeless hum of the vessel. The silver seeds were gone, scattered to the winds, but the light from the central column remained the color of stagnant water. Kale found no peace in the waiting. It was an itch under his skin, a tension in his soul. What if it's not enough? He projected to Ilara, his voice a low rumble of doubt. What if their poison is stronger than your hope? Or what if we simply run out of time? Ilara gestured to the wall, and it dissolved into a view of a sprawling human city at night. A river of headlights flowed through canyons of steel and glass. In one window, a family shared a meal. In another, a painter stood before a canvas. Their poison is great, Ilara sent, his thought a calm counterpoint to Kale's anxiety. But so is their capacity for creation, for connection. This is what we are trying to save. Not just the soil and the water, but this. Kale scoffed, a harsh, grating sound in the quiet chamber. They create trinkets while their world dies. With a thought, he seized control of the projection. The city vanished, replaced by the silent red desolation of a dead world. The rust-colored dust stretched to a barren horizon under a thin, indifferent sky. This is the future they are building, Cale projected, his thoughts sharp as broken glass. A monument to their own greed. Your seeds are a prayer whispered into a hurricane. I do not deny their talent for destruction, Ilara conceded, his energy a soothing balm. He let the image of the dead world remain, nor do I deny that this is a possible end. Time is a river, Cale. It can nourish, or it can erode. We have diverted a stream with our seeds, but the river's course is still their own to chart. We cannot force them to choose the sea over the desert. The quiet admission of potential failure seemed to agitate Cale more than any argument. He began to pace again, his heavy footfalls echoing his troubled thoughts. Then what will it look like, Ilara? The end. When the last river turns to dust, and the last bird falls from a poisoned sky, will the world scream as it did before, or will it just stop? Ilara's ancient eyes held a deep, cosmic sadness. He changed the image on the wall one last time. The red planet dissolved, replaced by the silent, terrifying beauty of deep space. A distant star began to swell, its light intensifying before it collapsed in on itself and then erupted in a magnificent, silent explosion of color and light, a supernova. All things end, my friend, Ilara sent. The universe does not mourn. It reclaims. The matter that was a world becomes the stardust for new ones. The grandeur of the dying star offered Cale no comfort. He stopped pacing and turned to face Ilara, his expression one of raw anguish. And the life? He projected, his thought trembling with a pain that transcended anger. The songs they sang, the pictures they painted, the love and the rage and the hope. Does all of that just become dust? No, Ilara replied, his voice soft but absolute. That becomes legacy. An echo in the fabric of existence. The Zorian who built this vessel did not survive, but their knowledge, their hope, it lives on in us. In the seeds we have sown. A story is not lost simply because the tongue that told it is gone. Cale fell silent, the storm inside him finally breaking. The anger was gone, washed away by a tide of profound weariness. He looked from Ilara to the sickly green light of the column, the symbol of the world's enduring illness. So we are to be librarians of a dead world, he asked, the thought devoid of its earlier fire. Curators of their final memory. We are guardians of a choice, Ilara corrected him gently. We watch and we wait, and if they fail, we will remember them. We will carry their story into the silence, so that the next world that learns to sing may avoid their mistakes. That is the weight of our vigil, Cale. It is the burden of hope and the price of memory. The long silence in the vessel was finally broken by Cale. His voice was quieter now, the raw weariness in him having settled into a deep, thoughtful curiosity. Their greed. Is it a choice, Ilara? He projected, the thought directed at his ancient companion. Or is it the only song they know how to sing? A fundamental flaw in their design? They build towers that scrape the heavens, yet they poison the ground they stand on, Cale continued, his thought a low, rumbling murmur. They possess a cleverness that can split the atom, but not the wisdom to live in harmony with a single blade of grass. Is it possible for a species to be so intelligent, and yet so profoundly foolish? Ilara did not answer directly. Instead, he turned to the wall, and the image of the supernova faded. In its place, a vibrant, teeming coral reef bloomed into view. It was a world of intricate dependencies, where predator and prey, parasite and host were woven into a delicate, breathtaking dance of survival. They are not the only intelligence on this world, Ilara projected. They are simply the loudest. Cale watched the silent ballet of the reef, the endless, complex motion of life. A beautiful pattern, he conceded. But when they look at this, they do not see a pattern. They see resources, food, jewels, medicine. They see things to take, Can they learn a new way of seeing before there is nothing left to see? Perhaps the solutions are not in the sea, or in the sky they are so desperate to conquer, Alara sent, his thought shifting the image again. The reef dissolved into a ghostly, glowing network of lines and nodes, spreading through rich, dark earth. A mycelial network, connecting an entire forest. The world itself is a library of solutions they have not yet learned to read. They have been shouting for so long, they have forgotten how to listen. A low sound, almost a chuckle, rumbled in Cale's chest. It was a sound of grim irony. Listen? They cannot even hear the screams of the forests they burn. They are deafened by the roar of their own machines, blinded by the glare of their own ambition. He turned back to Alara, his gaze sharp and focused, his earlier despair now forged into a fine point of inquiry. But what if there are other ways? Solutions they haven't yet imagined? Not just new ways to see, but new ways to be. Is it possible for them to continue, to grow, without this endless, gnawing hunger for more? For the first time in their long vigil, a flicker of uncertainty crossed Alara's timeless features. The Zorian offered a biological key to unlock a new symbiosis, a way to heal the world by healing themselves. But you ask if they can forge their own key from the raw material of their own consciousness. That is a question whose answer is not written in the stars. Alara let the image of the network fade, replaced by a single, perfect acorn resting in the palm of a human hand. The greatest solutions are often the quietest, he sent. Not a new machine, but a new story. A story where they are not conquerors of the world, but its children, where wealth is measured not by what is hoarded, but by what is sustained. Cale fell silent, his gaze shifting from the image on the wall to the unwavering, sickly green light of the column. The weight was the same, the vigil unchanged. But the question had deepened. It was no longer a simple matter of survival or extinction. It was a question of transformation. So we wait, Cale projected, his voice a quiet acceptance. We wait to see if they can learn to write a new song before the silence takes them. Cale's attention was fixed on the column of light, but his senses were turned outward, to the world beyond the vessel. A new disquiet settled in his ancient mind. There is a new fever in them, Alara, he projected, his thought a low, troubled hum. It is not just greed anymore. It is a desperate, hollow yearning. They are looking for a cause, a banner, a voice, to tell them they are the chosen. They cry out for a sign, a savior, Cale continued, the thought laced with a deep, resonant sorrow. They will follow any voice that promises them a special destiny, a role in a divine play. They are so busy looking to the heavens for their part that they do not see the stage they stand on as crumbling. Alara did not respond directly. He turned and gestured to the wall screen. The void of space dissolved, replaced by the image of a single, magnificent tree standing on a barren, wind-swept cliff. Its roots were thick and powerful, but they clawed at the surface, unable to find purchase in the thin, eroded soil. A tree with no anchor is at the mercy of every wind, Alara sent. They have severed their own roots, Cale, and now they mistake the howling of the wind for the voice of God. Cale turned from the column to look at the image, a slow understanding dawning in his eyes. So this search, this desperate need to be chosen, is a symptom of their disconnection? He projected. They seek a purpose from the sky because they have forgotten the language of the ground beneath their feet? Precisely, Alara affirmed, and the image on the screen shifted. The lone, struggling tree dissolved, replaced by the rich, dark soil of an ancient forest floor teeming with a complex web of life. The Druidic path does not teach of a single chosen one. It teaches that all are chosen. The planet has gifted every being with a purpose, a unique note in the great song of existence. The image on the screen shifted again, showing fleeting glimpses of human hands engaged in focused, meaningful work. One pair gently tending a seedling, another skillfully weaving reeds into a basket, a third tracing patterns in the earth. Their divine cause is not a holy war, Ilara's thought continued, but the sacred act of living. To be a gardener, a builder, a storyteller, a healer. They have forgotten the divinity in their own hands. They believe they must fight a great evil, Cale mused, the thought resonating with newfound clarity. But the real battle is against the emptiness within themselves, an emptiness they have tried to fill with power and possessions, because they have forgotten what it feels like to be whole. Yes, Ilara projected, his thought gentle but firm. And if they can be taught to look down, to feel the pulse of the world through the soles of their feet, they will find their purpose. It does not require an enemy, only a garden. It does not demand a weapon, but a root that holds fast. As they stood in shared silence, a faint thread of gold, thin as a spider's silk, swirled within the murky green of the column. It was fleeting, almost a trick of the eye, but it was undeniably there. A new idea, a different story, taking root somewhere in the collective mind of the world. Cale did not need to speak. A profound stillness emanated from him. The task was not to shout a new truth into the wind, but to nurture the soil so that humanity could rediscover the truth that was already there, waiting. So we listen. Ilara projected, his thought a quiet echo of a past vigil. We listen for the whisper of roots, and we wait for the forest to grow. The faint golden thread in the column was a fragile comfort. Cale's focus sharpened on a new, creeping darkness that swirled at the edges of the green, a color like dead ash. There is another sickness, Ilara, he sent, his thought tight with alarm. A belief that welcomes the end. They speak of a savior who will burn their world clean, to remake it anew. And so they do not protect it. They wait for the fire. They see no reason to save what they believe is already condemned, Cale continued, the thought a low-pained growl. They rob their own children of a world to live in, all for a promise of a paradise built on ruins. They have fallen in love with their own destruction. He turned his massive head to face his friend, the ancient patience in him worn thin. How do you fight such a thing, Ilara? How can you mend a mind that sees a wasteland and calls it a holy beginning? How do you teach them to love the world they are so eager to abandon? Ilara did not answer immediately. He turned to the wall screen, and the image of the forest floor was replaced by the breathtaking, violent birth of a star in a cosmic nebula. A storm of gas and light, creation on an unimaginable scale. They are not entirely wrong, Cale, Ilara projected, his thought as calm as the void. They feel the rhythm of the universe. All things end. All things are reborn. Their mistake, Ilara continued, as the star on the screen flared and stabilized, is in their role. They see themselves as the audience waiting for the final act. They have forgotten that they are the play itself. They are not meant to wait for the fire. They are meant to be the life that grows from the ashes of the last one. The image on the screen changed again. It now showed a time-lapse of a burned forest. From the blackened, desolate ground, a single green shoot emerged. Then another and another, until a carpet of new life pushed through the charcoal, reaching for the sun. The world does not need a single cataclysmic rebirth, Ilara sent. It is reborn every morning, after every fire, with every seed that sprouts. You cannot reason a person out of a prophecy, Ilara stated, his thought now simple and direct. You cannot convince them the end is not coming. But you can give them a reason to love the present. You can hand them a seed. A seed, Cale projected back. The thought was not a question, but a whisper of dawning comprehension. The tension in his shoulders finally eased. Yes, Ilara affirmed. The image on the screen settled on a single, perfect seedling, its two small leaves unfurled in the sunlight. Give them a garden to tend, a child to raise, a community to build. When their hands are busy creating, their hearts have no room to yearn for destruction. You show them that the divine act is not in waiting for the end, but in participating in the endless, quiet beginning that happens every day. Cale turned back to the column. The ashen-gray darkness was still there, a testament to a dangerous idea. But the golden thread of hope seemed to pulse with a stronger, more defiant light. The battle was not against a belief, but for a connection. So we teach them, Cale projected, a deep and abiding peace settling over him. We teach them to be gardeners again. Cale's attention was drawn to a new sickness in the column, a murky, sludge-gray that seemed to deaden the light around it. There is a quiet despair growing, Ilara, he sent, his thought laced with a heavy sadness. A system that promises care but breeds dependence. The people are forgetting how to strive. Even those who work tirelessly are crushed by the weight of a world that does not value their labor. They are losing hope. They are told they are being helped, Cale continued, his voice a low rumble of frustration, but they are being shackled. Their spirits are starved of purpose. They look for excuses not to build, not to create, because they have been taught that their efforts are meaningless. How do you fight a sickness that wears the mask of kindness, Ilara? How do you heal a wound that is constantly being reopened by the very hands that claim to be tending it? Ilara was silent for a long moment, his gaze fixed on the swirling gray. You are looking at the symptoms, Cale, not the disease, he finally projected, his thought as clear and cool as a mountain stream. This is not a failure of the people's will. It is a failure of the world's design. Think of it as a stagnant pond. The image on the wall screen behind them flickered and changed, showing a once beautiful pond, now choked with a thick green blanket of algae. The water was still and lifeless. When a pond is cut off from its source, Ilara sent, when there is no current to stir its waters, it inevitably sickens. You cannot command the water to be clean. You must restore the flow. But how, Ilara? Cale projected, the immense scale of the problem weighing on him. How do we create a current for an entire world? We cannot simply command the rains to fall or the rivers to run. This is a sickness of the spirit, a stagnation of the soul. It is too vast, too deep. The most powerful river begins with a single drop of rain, Ilara replied. The image on the screen changed. A single, perfect drop of water fell from a leaf into the center of the stagnant pond, and the ripples spread out, disturbing the algae, letting a sliver of clear water show through. The current does not need to be a flood. It needs only to be consistent. It begins with one person, in one place, choosing to act. You cannot give a man his purpose back, Ilara continued, his thought now sharp and focused. But you can give him the tools to build it himself. A single seed to plant in barren ground. A single lesson to teach a child. A single broken thing to mend. You remind them of the power that has always resided in their own hands. The image on the screen changed to a pair of hands, weathered and strong, carefully fixing the handle of a worn but sturdy tool. A new understanding dawned in Cale's eyes. It was not their role to be the flood that scoured the world clean. It was their role to be the first drop of rain. So we do not fight the despair, he projected, a sense of clarity washing over him. We feed the hope. Yes, Ilara affirmed, a faint, knowing smile gracing his ancient features. When a woman grows food for her family, she is not just nourishing their bodies. She is nourishing her own soul with the knowledge that she can provide. When a man builds a shelf for his neighbor, he is not just building a piece of furniture. He is rebuilding the foundations of his community. These small acts are the current that will cleanse the pond. The image on the screen showed a small, thriving community garden, with people of all ages working together, their faces filled with purpose and pride. Keel turned back to the column of light. The sludge gray was still there, a testament to a deeply ingrained sickness. But now, 1,000 tiny golden threads were beginning to weave their way through it, each one a small act of self-reliance, of community, of hope. "We will not be their saviors," Kale projected, his voice filled with a new, quiet strength. "We will be their teachers. We will show them how to make their own current." Ilara turned his great shaggy head towards Kale, his ancient eyes filled with a deep, practical wisdom. "Your words are true, my friend. We must be teachers. But how? We are not of their world. Our forms would inspire fear or worship, not the quiet self-reliance we wish to foster. How do we, as Druids, show them the way without becoming the very crutch we seek to remove? We will not teach with our voices, but with our hands," Kale projected, his thought resonating with the certainty of a river finding its path to the sea. "We will not be prophets, but partners. We will find the places where the current is weakest, where the water has pooled into stagnation, and we will simply begin to move the stones." Their first chosen place was a small park in the heart of a weary city. A community garden, once a vibrant patch of green, now lay abandoned. The soil was cracked and dry, the raised beds choked with weeds and littered with the sad debris of neglect. It was a place where hope had withered on the vine. Silently they set to work. Ilara, with his immense, gentle strength, cleared the broken beds and pulled the stubborn weeds, his movements as powerful and rhythmic as a turning season. Kale, with his innate connection to the green and growing things, sifted through the soil, coaxing it back to life, finding the dormant seeds of forgotten flowers and vegetables. A young girl, no older than 7, watched them from the edge of the park. She was not afraid. She saw not monsters or aliens, but two beings working with a quiet, focused purpose. Drawn by a curiosity that was stronger than any fear, she took a tentative step forward, her eyes fixed on the gentle giant clearing the land. He offered the flower to her. As she reached out to take it, Kale approached, holding a single, perfect seed in his palm. He knelt before the child and, with a simple gesture, showed her how to press the seed into the newly turned earth. The lesson was unspoken, a silent communion of trust and creation. The girl ran, not away, but towards home. She returned moments later, pulling her mother by the hand. The woman stopped short, her eyes wide at the sight of Ilara, but her daughter's excited chatter and the undeniable transformation of the garden held her in place. She saw the rich, dark soil, the cleared beds, the promise of life in a place that had been dead for years. Hesitantly at first, the mother knelt and touched the soil. Then, with a small, determined nod, she picked up a discarded trowel and began to work. Soon, a father from a nearby apartment came to see what the commotion was. He watched for a moment, then disappeared, returning with a rake and a quiet offer to help. The first few drops of rain had begun to fall. From the shade of a nearby tree, Kale and Ilara watched as the current grew. More people came, drawn by the sight of their neighbors working together. Laughter echoed where once there had been silence. They were not just planting a garden, they were replanting the roots of their own community, and the two druids were no longer needed. Their work here was done. "This is how we teach," Kale sent to his friend, his thought a warm, golden light, not by giving them the answers, but by showing them how to ask the questions. "We move the first stone, and they will find the strength to build the riverbed themselves." The golden threads in the great column of light shone a little brighter that day, strengthened by the simple act of a garden being reborn. Ilara watched the distant town, where the community garden was now a vibrant jewel of green. "The garden is a seed of hope, Kale," he sent, his thought a low rumble. "But the world is vast, and the poisons run deep in the rivers and the air. How does one person, or even one small village, begin to heal such widespread wounds? How do they learn to live differently?" "Your heart sees the truth, old friend," Kale projected, his thought a calming breeze. "The task is immense. But you ask how to change a river's course. You do not command the water. You find the source. The change begins not in the world, but in the heart and home of each person. It is a change of habit, a relearning of forgotten wisdom." "They are not alone in this," Kale continued. "Many have already heard the earth's quiet plea. They have formed circles of common purpose. There are the river keepers, who walk the banks and pull the metal thorns from her side. There are the seed sharers, who protect the ancient grains and teach the art of growing food in small spaces. You will also find the menders and makers, who see value in what others discard, teaching skills to repair rather than replace. And there are the quiet walkers, who simply spend time in the wild places, reminding others of what is at stake, their presence a silent protest against the noise of destruction." Ilara rumbled, a thoughtful sound deep in his chest. "These groups sound like streams flowing from the same mountain. But the world of humans is loud, full of confusing currents. How does one find the right stream to follow? How do they know which ones are true and which are but shallow pools?" "The right path is the one that calls to their heart," Kale explained. "One should not seek the largest river, but the one whose song they understand. Do they love the feel of soil? Let them find a garden. Does the sight of a choked stream bring them sorrow? Let them find the keepers of the water. The work begins where their own 2 feet stand." "These groups are not hidden," Kale went on. "Their seeds are planted in the places where people gather, in halls of shared knowledge, at markets where neighbors meet, on boards where messages are pinned like leaves to a tree. To find them, one must simply look and listen for the whispers of their own community." "Support is more than just joining hands," Kale added. "Some can offer their time, others the fruits of their own labor, coins, tools, or food. And many can offer their voice, sharing the story of the work, letting the current of change flow from one heart to the next, until a small stream becomes a cleansing flood." A slow understanding dawned in Ilara's ancient eyes. "So, it is the same as the garden," he concluded, the thought resonating with newfound clarity. "We do not tell them what to plant. We simply prepare the soil. We show them that the soil is ready, and trust that they will find the right seeds to grow." "Exactly," Kale affirmed, his thought a ray of sunlight through the canopy. "We guide them to the headwaters of their own conscience. They will carve the riverbeds. They will heal their world, not because they were told to, but because they remembered how." In the distance, the great column of light pulsed, its golden threads weaving a new pattern of hope and responsibility. Ilara traced a spiral in the soft earth with a thick finger. "Kale," he sent, his thought heavy with history. "We have been shadows for too long. Our symbols, our traditions, they hold the wisdom of the earth. But how do we explain them to the humans now? How do we show them the meaning of a triskele, or the great tree of life, when our languages are no longer the same?" Kale knelt beside him, his presence a gentle comfort. "You cannot explain a symbol, old friend. Not in the way you explain how to build a fire. A symbol is not an instruction. It is a vessel. It holds a truth that is felt before it is understood. To share the meaning, you must first help them rediscover the feeling." "Take the tree of life," Kale said, gesturing to a colossal, ancient oak nearby. "We do not need to show them a drawing. We guide them to stand before a tree like this. We help them see how its roots grip the earth, how its branches reach for the sun, how it shelters countless lives. They will see the connection between the hidden and the seen, the earth and the sky. They will feel the tree of life. So this symbol is a name for a truth they can find themselves, Ilara rumbled, the thought clearing like mist. We are not giving them a map, but teaching them how to read the land itself. Precisely, Kale affirmed. And the knots, the triquetra and triskele? They speak of the threefold nature of existence, land, sea, and sky, mind, body, and spirit, past, present, and future. Do not try to teach the shape. Help them feel the way their own life is woven from these threads. The knot is merely a reminder that nothing stands alone. When a human feels the strength of the earth beneath their feet, the pull of the tide in their heart, and the vastness of the sky in their soul, they will understand the triquetra without ever being told its name. Kale continued. Our task is to reawaken their senses, not to fill their minds. But what of our own sigils? Ilara asked, his thought turning personal. The marks that tell the story of our people, of our pledge to the forest. They are not universal. How can they ever understand those? A sigil is a promise carved into a shape, Kale explained softly. You cannot give them the carving. You must give them the promise. If your sigil means guardian of the Headwaters, then you must guard the Headwaters. Your actions will be the translation. They will see your dedication, your purpose, and they will understand the spirit of the sigil even if they never know its form. A profound peace settled over Ilara. So we do not speak. We do not teach. We show. We live the meaning of our symbols, and in our living, they will be understood. Yes, Kale sent his thought a warm, encouraging light. We will not be scribes of a forgotten language. We will be living libraries, and the truth of our traditions will be read in the health of the forest and the clarity of the river. We will help them remember the feeling, and they will find the words for it themselves. We will be living libraries, Kale, Ilara sent, the thought heavy with a new sense of purpose. But a library can be overwhelming. What is the first book we should open for them? What is the most important promise nature holds that they have forgotten? Kale stopped beside a tiny, hidden spring where water bubbled up from between smooth stones. The first promise is the simplest, old friend, he said softly. It is the promise of renewal. This water, which flows from the dark, unseen places of the earth, does not hoard its life. It gives itself freely, becoming the river, the cloud, and the rain, only to return here again. He looked up at Ilara, his eyes serious. Humanity has forgotten this. They see a resource and think only of what they can take. They have forgotten that to take without giving back is to break the cycle. The spring becomes a stagnant pool. The forest becomes a desert. So the message is a warning? Ilara sent, his thought a low rumble of concern. No, Kale corrected gently, standing up. It is not a warning. It is an invitation. The promise is that what is broken can be mended. What is given will be returned. Nature does not hold a grudge. It only asks for participation. How do we convey this invitation? Ilara asked, gesturing with one of his large hands. They cannot hear our thoughts. They will see only our actions. Our actions will be the message, Kale replied, his gaze becoming focused and distant. We will not use thoughts or words. We will use our hands. We will find a place they have wounded, a stream choked with their waste, a patch of earth they have stripped bare. And there, Kale continued, turning back to his friend, we will begin the work of renewal ourselves. We will clear the stream. We will nurture the soil. We will plant the first seed. We will not do it for them, but for the sake of the land itself. Ilara looked from his own hands to the vibrant forest around them. They will see our work, he sent, a new energy in his thought. They will see life returning where there was decay. They will see the promise kept, right before their eyes. Exactly, Cale affirmed, his voice soft but firm. We will not preach a sermon of renewal. We will be the renewal. And when they see the water run clear again, when they see the first green shoot push through the barren ground, they will feel the invitation. They will remember the promise that is written not in books, but in the very heart of the world. They stood at the edge of a meadow, a place untouched by the sickness, where wildflowers painted the grass in vibrant strokes. This is what we work for, Cale said, his voice a low hum of reverence. This is the promise we will help the world to remember. Ilara was silent for a long moment, his gaze sweeping over the scene. They seek to be spiritual, he sent, the thought not a sound but a feeling that resonated deep within Cale. They climb mountains and close their eyes, hoping to find something they have lost. But they look past it, Ilara's thought continued as a butterfly drifted past. True spirituality is not found by leaving the world behind. It is found by digging your hands into it. It is the tending, the nurturing, the protecting. Cale turned to his friend, his brow furrowed in concentration. You mean the act of caring for the land is itself a spiritual practice? He asked, wanting to fully grasp the depth of Ilara's meaning. It is the only one that matters, Ilara sent with quiet force. Look at this flower. He indicated a single, perfect bloom at their feet. It does not pray for the sun. It turns its face to the sun. It does not ask for rain. It drinks deeply when the rain comes. Its entire being is a prayer of existence. All living things seek to exist, Ilara explained, his thought encompassing the buzzing insects and the distant birdsong. It is the one desire that unites the tree, the wolf, and the man. The desire for one more breath, one more sunrise. This is the great, silent chorus of the world. A profound understanding settled over Cale. Their work was more than just ecological restoration. So when we clear a choked stream, he said, thinking aloud, we are answering the water's desire to flow. When we plant a seed, we are honoring its desire to grow. Yes, Ilara affirmed. You are participating in their existence. You are joining the chorus. To protect life, in any form, is to align yourself with the most powerful force in the universe. This is the spirituality they have forgotten. It is not found in a temple of stone, but in a temple of living things. Cale looked out at the meadow, but he no longer saw just grass and flowers. He saw a billion tiny wills, all striving, all reaching for life. We will not just show them renewal, he said softly. We will show them how to hear the world's song again. We will teach by doing, Ilara sent, his thought a calm and steady promise. We will be the gardeners. We will be the guardians. And in our work, they will see that to be truly spiritual is to be a loving caretaker of the world that gives them life. Cale and Ilara stood on a hill overlooking a world slowly healing. Below them, a river, once sick and gray, now ran with a hint of blue. It is a long road, Cale said, his voice heavy with the memory of all they had fought for. All important roads are, Ilara sent, his thought a comforting presence. But look how far you have come, the water breathes again. The soil remembers its strength. You have shown your people that what is broken can be mended. Cale watched a bird take flight from a newly greening tree. But the sickness runs deep in their hearts, Ilara. The despair, the apathy. They have forgotten how to hope. Then you must remind them, Ilara's thought was firm. You must tell them of humanity's true legacy, not as a story of a magical past, but as a story of their own power. The power to choose, to act, to nurture. Tell them, Ilara continued, that every hand that cleared a stone from the riverbed, Every voice that sang to a struggling sapling, every heart that refused to surrender to the gray was a part of the healing. The magic was not in some forgotten relic, Kale. It was in them. Tell them that hope is not a feeling you wait for. It is a muscle you build. It is the choice to plant a single seed in a barren field, believing in the possibility of a forest. It is the courage to take one small step and then another, even when the path is shrouded in darkness. Remind them, Ilara's thought softened, that even in the deepest silence, the world sings a song of existence. The desire of the root to push through stone, the desire of the leaf to reach for the sun. This is the spirit of life. It is relentless. It is in them. Kale looked out at the world, no longer seeing just what was lost, but what was possible. We will not just rebuild, he said, his voice clear and strong. We will grow something new. Something stronger. Something that remembers the song. Yes, Ilara affirmed. Tell them to never give up. For they are the gardeners. They are the guardians. This is the human race's true legacy, and the future is a seed in their hands, waiting to be planted. This is your story, too. The power to heal our world and ourselves lies within you. It is in your small acts of courage, of kindness, of unwavering hope. You are the gardener. You are the guardian. The future of this world is a seed in your hands.